Hello and welcome to another edition of ProtoMet's First Impressions, where I give my thoughts on the first episode of any new tokusatsu show. Ultraman Arc is out. And I'm, to be completely honest, kind of underwhelmed. Or I guess I should say that watching the first episode didn't necessarily wow me. It's certainly fine, but I guess maybe I was just in a bit of a funk. Maybe if I rewatched it, I'd find it more exciting. But it does have some interesting stuff. For starters, the episode starts in media res with Ultraman Arc battling some alien-looking monster that looks like a combination of a Zeton and an Antler. In fact, I've got those nearby, but I'm not going to grab them because I'm okay. We got Antler. And we got Zeton. That's what it looks like. It then cuts to reveal that the fight that we're seeing, which, for the record, the fact that it starts with showing civilians who are actually being affected by the attack from their level, that's pretty impressive. I'll give them that. It's not often that the Ultra Series actually shows you from the, civilian perspective of how these fights play out. Though some recent seasons have done some pretty interesting things with that concept. This is just the first time that we get to see that from the civilian perspective right from the start. But it's revealed that the fight we just watched took place 3 months earlier, and since then, Ultraman Arc, who at this point is still referred to as the Mysterious Giant, has been battling kaijus consistently ever since. Meaning that he has a host and he has been fighting. So we're not even on the ground floor for this. We're coming in well after the fact. I'm sure that there's going to be a later episode revealing how our hero came into contact with the Ultra that he's now partnered with, but we don't get to see that right now, other than later showing that, yes, the host does know of Ultraman Arc's existence and calls upon his power in a way that is, kind of similar to Ultraman Orb, in that he's actively asking for the help, as opposed to just whipping out a transformation device and transforming. He's like, will you help me once again? That's nice, but that happens later. Turns out it's been 16 years since kaiju have first showed up, and they've been showing up fairly consistently. We've got a group known as the Global Defense Force, which has been dealing with the kaiju threat as they arise. Though in recent months it turns out that Ultraman has been dealing with the kaiju problem before GDF can get in gear, so technically he's a bit more efficient. But our focus instead turns to Yuma. He's Yuma Hise, who works for a group called Skip. Which is a group that does a lot of the kind of behind-the-scenes work with regards to dealing with kaiju. Like, they help with the relief efforts, they study the monsters, they try to predict patterns in the creatures, that kind of stuff. All the stuff that isn't directly battling the monsters. And Yuma, upon arriving at the Skip headquarters and being greeted by the robot UP, which can separate into the head unit called U-Bot and the body unit called P-Body, is informed that the other two members of Skip have already headed out to something called the Monohorn, which apparently showed up like 16 years earlier, and they've been investigating it ever since. But he gets out there. Yuma tries to scan stuff. We get introduced to the other members. One of which is played by the same actor who played Abba Red in Bakuryu Sentai Abba Ranger, which I was kind of excited to see him jumping over from Sentai to Ultraman. You love it when you see it. It's kind of, oh, I recognize this guy. Glad to see he's still working, kind of situation. Yeah, no, they're just taking some readings because apparently some early warning sensor went off, so they're trying to figure out why it went off. Turns out it's like some parasitic organism called ooze, or ooze, which is a hand puppet. Like, it's just straight up a hand puppet. Like, you could... I've recently started rewatching Ultraman O's, and it just reminded me of Ank's hand when that's floating around, except, you know, it looks like a parasitic organism that's controlled by human fingers. It's like, I get it, but I'm not fooled. Kind of funny, though. But Yuma goes in search of it and winds up finding a creature called a Shagong, which he later learns has been infected with this ooze, which eventually causes it to grow giant after eating a lot of calcium carbonate, which is all information that the Skip team are going over while discussing a member of the GDF who is basically acting as their liaison and who does eventually kind of join up as their contact between the two organizations at the end of the episode. But I think the funniest thing that this guy does is when they reach a roadblock in how they are going to proceed, he's like, well, let's get some coffee. And everybody's like, we don't have coffee. We don't even have a coffee maker. And he kind of freaks out. He's like, oh. But this guy, he ends up saving Yuma from the Shagong when it turns to attack Yuma, but yeah, eventually the Shagong grows giant. Skip goes to deal with the relief effort. Well, I guess the GDF tried to send out toy tanks to deal with it. Like, I know that a lot of these shows utilize miniatures, but damn, these tanks look so fake. Like, I know that they're trying to go for a sleek and stylish, futuristic look for the tanks, but I can't help but think that they look like toys. Although, who knows? Maybe it's the whole power of imagination thing that this season seems to be going on, because early on in the episode we see what looks like a child's drawing of Ultraman. And later on, Ultraman Arc basically tells Yuma to use his imagination when fighting Shagong, because of course he fights Shagong. But who knows? But anyway, Shagong uses some sort of magma beam. I think it looks like a blue-looking beam, but it produces what looks like magma. So, I don't know. A lot of stuff happens. Yuma, the GDF contact guy, gets knocked out while helping Yuma. Yuma sees Ultraman Arc and asks him for help. He transforms because he's already got his transformation device, obviously. Like I said, Ultraman Arc has been showing up for like the past 3 months in universe. He fights Shagong, and what is actually kind of nice is that the GDF contact actually regains consciousness just before Arc begins the fight, and he starts recording the whole thing, and like up in the corner of the screen we get a nice timer that shows how long the fight is actually taking in real time, which is a nice touch to show that this Ultra doesn't have the 3-minute time limit that Ultramen usually have. Although, let's be honest, when has the 3-minute time limit actually been a hard limit? But the fight and Arc's departure lasts more than 3 minutes, like 3:18, I want to say, thereabouts. But it's a nice it's a nice touch to show just how quickly these fights are actually going, and I'm sure they're gonna keep that going for a little bit, but maybe get rid of it later on. But what actually is a kind of a nice touch is that during the fight, Arc is having to defend itself with a shield and can't figure out a means of attack. So Arc's like, "Hey, Yuma, use your imagination." So, so he does by breaking the shield in half and stabbing the Shagun with it, which I think kills the monster. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of doing some other stuff while watching this, so I wasn't paying too close attention to how things played out. But ultimately, the Uzai that had been infecting the Shagun all die because reasons, and the GDF guy who gets back in touch with Yuma actually is the one who names Ultraman Arc, because A, they can't just keep calling it the Mysterious Giant the entire time, and B, it left a nice pretty arc in the sky. So yeah, I'm certainly going to be checking out more of this show. It just didn't immediately wow me like, say, Blazar did last year, but it certainly got some interesting stuff. I'm interested to know what the Antler Zeton thing is all about. Like, was that just a one-off monster that showed up, or is that going to be a recurring villain? Given that it shows up in the opening title sequence, it's probably going to be recurring. Otherwise, it's a bait and switch. I don't know. But interesting to see what's going to be going on with regarding the Monohorn relic or whatever it is. Yeah, it's... Again, I wasn't wowed by this season, but I don't dislike it. I didn't watch it and be like, wow, I hate this thing utterly. It's like, no, I just had a bit of a non-plus reaction to it. It's like, yeah, it's fine. It's Ultraman. It's fun. Who knows? Maybe if I rewatch it today, I'll have a different opinion. I was in a bit of a funk yesterday. Just unmotivated and a whole bunch of stuff. That's why I'm actually doing this video today rather than yesterday when I actually watched the show twice. I watched the English dub and then the original Japanese language with subs. Just because I wasn't sure if I'd remember what all happened in the episode, because I was in a funk. But yeah, it's fine. Go check it out. It's on 2 different YouTube channels. And like Subaraya set up a whole new channel specifically for the English dub of the show. So go check that out. And until next time, I'm ProtoMet. See ya.